The suitcase sat by the front door like a faithful dog, packed and ready for our dream vacation to Costa Rica. I'd been looking forward to this trip for months, 2 weeks of beaches, ziplining, and reconnecting with my wife, Talia, after what had been a rough year in our marriage. At 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text that changed everything. "Sorry, honey, boss took the last seat on the flight. You understand, right? This is huge for my career. Enjoy your time off. XOXO." I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times before it sank in. Talia had left for the airport 2 hours earlier, claiming she wanted to get there early to avoid crowds. Now I understood why. My name is Dean Calix, and I'm a 42-year-old tech consultant who apparently married a woman capable of abandoning me at the last minute for her influencer career. Talia Marin, she kept her maiden name for brand recognition, had built a following of 200,000 people who hung on her every yoga pose and smoothie recipe. I called the airline. "I'm sorry, sir, but there's no reservation under your name for today's flight to San Jose." "Check again. Dean Calix, my wife booked it." The agent's voice carried that practiced patience reserved for confused customers. "Sir, I show only one passenger on that booking, a Miss Talia Marin in first class." First class. She'd upgraded herself and left me behind. I hung up and walked to our bedroom, where her side of the closet gaped open like a mouth. Half her clothes were gone, including the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. The dress she'd claimed was too fancy for vacation. My laptop was still open on the kitchen counter. Talia's Instagram account glowed on the screen, her latest story showing her at the airport gate with the caption, "Solo adventure time. Sometimes you have to put yourself first." The comments were already pouring in from her devoted followers. "You go, girl. Self-care queen. Where's your husband?" That last one stung. Where indeed. I poured myself coffee and sat in the silence of our suburban Boston home. The house we'd bought together 3 years ago, back when I thought we were building something real. The mortgage was in both our names, but I'd been making most of the payments while Talia invested in her brand. My phone rang. Jared's name flashed on the screen. "Dean, man, I just saw Talia's post. What the hell happened?" Jared Kowalski had been my friend since college. He worked construction now, had rough hands and a rougher mouth, but he was the most loyal person I knew. "She left me," I said. "Took my spot on the plane and went to Costa Rica alone." "That's messed up, bro. What are you going to do?" I looked around our perfect little house with its perfect little life that had just exploded in my face. I'm going to figure out what's really going on. After hanging up, I did something I'd never done before. I logged into our joint checking account. The balance made my stomach drop. Talia had withdrawn $8,000 over the past 2 weeks. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger alerts, but together they represented a significant chunk of our savings. I scrolled through the transactions, spa treatments, designer clothes, restaurant charges from places I'd never been, and then I saw it, a charge from Romano's, the most expensive Italian place in the city. Last Tuesday night, when Talia had claimed she was working late, the charge was for 2 people. I opened her laptop, still logged into her email. I know it was wrong, but my marriage was apparently already over, so privacy seemed like a luxury I couldn't afford. The first email that caught my attention was from someone named Landon Reeve. "Can't wait for our trip, beautiful. Dean will never know what hit him." My hand shook as I scrolled through their correspondence. Months of messages, plans, intimate details about their relationship and their plans for Costa Rica. Plans that had always included leaving me behind. "He's so clueless," Talia had written. "Still thinks we're going together. It's almost sad." Almost sad. My wife of 5 years thought my trust in her was almost sad. I kept reading. Landon owned a chain of trendy gyms around Boston. He was 38, divorced, and apparently everything Talia thought I wasn't. Rich, confident, willing to post shirtless photos on social media. The emails revealed the depth of their planning. They'd been together for 6 months. She'd been using our joint account to fund their dates. She'd even told him about my insecurities, my struggles with work, my fears about our marriage. Everything I'd shared with her in confidence had become ammunition for their private jokes. My phone buzzed with another text from Talia. "Hope you're not too upset. Maybe this is good for both of us. Time to think about what we really want." What we really want. As if this was a mutual decision. I typed back, "Have a great trip. We'll talk when you get back." But even as I sent it, I knew we wouldn't be talking about anything. I was done talking. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I spent the rest of the morning going through our finances with the methodical precision that had made me good at my job. Talia might have thought I was clueless, but I was very good with details. She'd been sloppy, overconfident. The paper trail of her affair was everywhere once I knew what to look for. Hotel receipts, jewelry purchases, even a weekend getaway to Cape Cod that she'd told me was a work retreat. By noon, I'd transferred our joint savings into an account she couldn't access. I canceled her credit cards, the ones I'd added her to as an authorized user. I canceled the car insurance on the BMW she drove, the one that was in my name. Then I packed my own suitcase and left our perfect little house. I'd already put a deposit down on a small apartment across town, something I'd been considering for weeks without really admitting why. As I drove away, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Relief. My phone rang as I was unloading boxes in my new place. Talia's name flashed on the screen. "Dean, what did you do? My cards aren't working and the hotel says there's a problem with our reservation." Her voice was shrill, panicked. I could hear airport noise in the background. "I moved some money around," I said calmly. "You said this trip was good for both of us. I figured you could handle the expenses since it was your idea." "This isn't funny. I'm stranded here with no way to pay for anything." "You're not stranded. You're with Landon, remember? I'm sure he can cover it." The silence stretched between us. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, smaller. "How did you—" "Your email was still open. You might want to change your passwords. And Talia, next time you decide to destroy someone's life, maybe don't use their laptop to plan it." I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I met Jared at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar that served breakfast and didn't judge you for drinking before noon. He was already there, nursing a beer and scrolling through his phone. "Dude, you need to see this," he said, sliding his phone across the table. Talia's Instagram story was a masterpiece of damage control. She was at the resort, posting pictures of herself by the pool with captions about finding herself and embracing independence. The comments were mixed now. Some of her followers were asking uncomfortable questions. "Where's your husband? Didn't you just post about your anniversary last month? This seems weird." But there were still plenty of supporters cheering her on, calling her brave for taking a solo vacation. "She's good," Jared admitted, making it look like this was all planned. I zoomed in on one of the photos. In the background, partially obscured by a palm tree, was a man's arm, muscled, tanned, wearing an expensive watch. "She's not alone," I said. "Obviously. So what's your play here?" I'd been thinking about that all night. Talia had humiliated me, stolen from me, and was now trying to rewrite history to make herself look like the victim. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. "I'm going to let her hang herself," I said. "She thinks she's so smart, but she's been sloppy. All I have to do is help people see what's really going on." Legal revenge? The only kind worth having. I spent the next few days learning everything I could about Landon Reeve. It wasn't hard. The man lived his life on social media. He owned 3 gyms called Reeve Fitness, drove a white Tesla, and had a weakness for posting motivational quotes over pictures of his abs. He was also married, recently divorced, according to the public records I found, but the divorce wasn't final yet. His wife had filed citing irreconcilable differences, but I wondered if she knew about Talia. I created a fake social media account and started following both of them. Within hours, I had a clear picture of their Costa Rica trip. They weren't being as careful as they thought. Landon posted a picture of 2 drinks on a beach table. Talia posted a sunset photo from the same beach 30 minutes later. He shared a story about the amazing energy at their resort. She posted about finding unexpected connections while traveling. They thought they were being subtle. They weren't. I screenshot everything and started building a timeline. Not for any legal purpose. What they were doing wasn't illegal. But Talia's entire career was built on her image as a lifestyle guru who had figured out the secret to happiness. Her followers trusted her advice about relationships, self-care, and authenticity. They deserved to know who they were really following, but I wasn't ready to go public yet. First, I wanted to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with. I drove to Talia's office, a trendy co-working space in Cambridge where she filmed her content and met with sponsors. I knew her assistant, Fiona, would be there. Fiona was 26, ambitious, and had always seemed a little too interested in Talia's personal life. "Dean," she said when I walked in, "I thought you were in Costa Rica." "Change of plans? Is Talia around?" Fiona's expression shifted. "She's traveling. Didn't she tell you?" "She told me a lot of things. Most of them weren't true." I watched Fiona's face carefully. She knew something. "Can we talk?" I asked. "Privately?" We went to the coffee shop downstairs. Fiona ordered a complicated drink with oat milk and 3 different syrups. I got black coffee. "How long have you known about Landon?" I asked. She nearly choked on her latte. "I don't know what you mean." "Fiona, I found their emails. I know about the affair. I know about the trip. What I want to know is how long you've been covering for her." She stared at me for a long moment, then sighed. "Since March. Maybe April. She made me book restaurant reservations, send flowers to herself so she could pretend they were from sponsors. She even had me lie to you on the phone a few times. Why didn't you tell me?" "It wasn't my place. And honestly, she pays me really well to keep her secrets." I leaned back in my chair. "What if I could pay you better?" Fiona raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "I don't want you to do anything illegal or unethical. But if you happen to be less careful about keeping her secrets, if you happen to let slip some details about her real life versus her online persona, I'd be grateful." "How grateful?" I pulled out my checkbook and wrote her a check for $2,000. "This grateful, with more to come if you help me understand what I'm really dealing with." She stared at the check. "She's been planning to leave you for months. The Costa Rica trip was supposed to be her big exit. She was going to come back and tell you she'd had some kind of spiritual awakening and needed space to grow." "And Landon?" "She was going to wait a few months, then introduce him as someone she met after your separation. Make it look like a rebound that turned into true love." The calculation of it was breathtaking. She'd planned every detail of how to destroy our marriage while making herself look like the victim. "There's more," Fiona said quietly. "She's been lying to her sponsors, too. That partnership with the wellness company. She told them she was married to a successful entrepreneur, not a tech consultant. She's been inflating your income on all her applications. What else? The yoga certification she claims to have? She never finished the program. The retreat in Bali she posts about constantly. She went to a resort in Florida and used stock photos. Most of her authentic content is completely fake." I felt a slow smile spreading across my face. "Fiona, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. "Is this Dean Calix?" "Who's asking?" "This is Janet Reeve. I think we need to talk." Landon's wife, soon-to-be ex-wife. We met the next day at a Starbucks in Newton. Janet was in her mid-30s, attractive in a tired way that suggested she'd been dealing with stress for a long time. "I hired a private investigator," she said without preamble. "I know about your wife." She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were photos of Talia and Landon together, at restaurants, at his gym, at a hotel in downtown Boston. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know this must be hard to see. Actually, it's helpful. I'm building my own case." "For divorce?" "For something better than that." Janet studied my face. "What do you mean?" "Your husband and my wife think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they can manipulate people and rewrite history to make themselves look good. I want to prove them wrong." "I'm listening." "Talia's entire career is built on authenticity. She sells herself as someone who has figured out how to live an honest, fulfilling life. Her followers trust her. They buy products she recommends. They pay for her online courses about relationships and self-improvement. And they deserve to know that she's a fraud. Not just about the affair, but about everything. Her credentials, her experiences, her entire persona." Janet nodded slowly. "Landon's the same way. He tells his clients that fitness is about discipline and commitment. Meanwhile, he's been cheating on me for years and lying about our finances to fund his lifestyle. What if we helped each other?" "How?" "You have evidence of his infidelity. I have evidence of her fraud. Together, we can make sure the truth comes out in a way that actually matters." Janet smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. "I like the way you think." That night, I sat in my new apartment and planned my next moves. Talia and Landon were still in Costa Rica, posting their carefully curated content and thinking they'd gotten away with everything. They had no idea what was waiting for them when they got back. My phone buzzed with a text from Talia. "We need to talk when I get home. I think we can work this out." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I think you're right. We definitely need to talk." But the conversation I had in mind wasn't the one she was expecting. Talia and Landon returned from Costa Rica on a Thursday. I knew because Fiona texted me their flight information along with a photo she'd taken of Talia's calendar. They'd scheduled a debriefing meeting for Friday morning, probably to coordinate their stories before Talia came home to face me. I spent Thursday evening in my apartment, surrounded by printed emails, bank statements, and photographs. Janet had provided me with financial records showing how Landon had been using business funds to pay for his affairs. Fiona had given me documentation of Talia's lies to sponsors and clients. I even had screenshots of fake reviews Talia had written for her own online courses using multiple accounts. The scope of their deception was impressive. They weren't just cheating on their spouses. They were defrauding their customers, their business partners, and their followers. At 9 p.m., my phone rang. Talia. "Dean, I'm back. Can we talk?" Her voice was different, softer. The confident woman who'd abandoned me 2 weeks ago had been replaced by someone who sounded almost nervous. "Of course. Come over. I was thinking we could meet somewhere neutral. Maybe that coffee place you like in Harvard Square? This is our marriage, Talia. If we're going to talk about it, we should do it privately." A long pause. "Okay. I'll be there in an hour." I spent that hour arranging the evidence on my kitchen table like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Bank statements showing her unauthorized withdrawals, printed emails between her and Landon, screenshots of her fake credentials, photos of them together that Janet's investigator had taken. When Talia knocked, I almost didn't recognize her. She was tan from the vacation, but she looked smaller somehow, uncertain. "Hi," she said. "Come in." She followed me to the kitchen and stopped when she saw the papers spread across the table. "What is all this?" "The truth. Have a seat." She remained standing. "Dean, I know you're upset, but—" "I'm not upset," I said calmly. "Upset is what you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic. This is something else entirely. I picked up the first document. Joint checking account. You withdrew $8,000 over 2 weeks to fund your affair. That's theft. It's our money. This, I continued, holding up a printed email, is you telling Landon that I'm pathetically easy to manipulate. You shared private details about our marriage, our finances, and my personal insecurities with your lover. Talia's face was pale now. You went through my email? You left it open on our shared laptop. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is what else I found. I showed her the fake yoga certification, the fabricated retreat photos, the inflated income claims to sponsors. You've been committing fraud, Talia. Your entire business is built on lies. She sat down heavily. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You didn't just cheat on me. You didn't just steal from me. You tried to destroy me while building your new life on a foundation of lies. And now, I'm going to return the favor. What does that mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her a draft post I'd prepared for social media. This is going out tomorrow morning. It details everything. The affair, the financial theft, the business fraud. I have documentation for all of it. Her eyes widened as she read. You can't do this. It will ruin me. Yes, it will. Dean, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but you made choices, calculated, deliberate choices, for months. She started crying, real tears, not the performed emotion she used in her videos. What do you want me to do? I want you to experience consequences, real ones. You've spent years manipulating people and situations to get what you want. Now you get to find out what happens when that stops working. I'll give you everything. The house, the car, whatever you want. I don't want your things, Talia. I want justice. She left an hour later, still crying. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. The next morning, I didn't post anything on social media. Instead, I sent a carefully crafted email to Talia's 3 biggest sponsors, detailing her fraudulent credentials and including evidence of her fake content. I sent similar emails to the platforms where she sold her online courses, providing proof of the fake reviews and inflated testimonials. Then, I called her boss at the influencer marketing company she worked with. Ms. Kitteridge, this is Dean Calix, Talia Marin's husband. I have some information you need to see about her business practices. By noon, Talia's phone was ringing constantly. By evening, 2 of her major sponsorship deals had been canceled, and her online courses had been removed from their platforms pending investigation. She called me, screaming, "You're destroying my life." "No," I said. "I'm revealing your life. There's a difference. I'll sue you for harassment. With what money? And what lawyer is going to take a case where all the evidence supports the defendant?" She hung up. Saturday morning, Janet called. "I served Landon with divorce papers yesterday. I also sent copies of his financial records to the IRS and the State Business Licensing Board." "How did he take it?" "About as well as you'd expect. He tried to blame everything on Talia, said she seduced him and manipulated him into the affair. Classy. He wants to meet with you." "What?" "He thinks if you 2 can work together, you can convince Talia and me to keep quiet about everything. He doesn't understand that we're not the ones he should be worried about." "What do you mean?" "I may have mentioned to a few people at his gym that he's been using business funds for personal expenses. Word spreads fast in the fitness community." I laughed. "Janet, you're devious. I like that. I learned from the best. My ex-husband taught me a lot about revenge, just not in the way he intended." That afternoon, Landon called me. "We need to talk, man. This whole situation is getting out of hand." "I'm listening." "Look, I know you're angry about Talia, but she came on to me. She told me your marriage was already over, that you 2 were just waiting for the right time to make it official." "And you believed her?" "She was very convincing. Women like that, they know how to manipulate men." The irony was staggering. "So this is all her fault?" "I'm just saying maybe we're both victims here. Maybe we should be working together instead of destroying each other. What did you have in mind? Meet me tonight. Murphy's Tavern, 8 o'clock. We can figure out how to handle this like adults. I agreed to meet him, but not for the reasons he thought. Murphy's was crowded for a Saturday night. I found Landon at a corner table, nursing a beer and looking like a man who hadn't slept well. He was still handsome in that generic gym owner way, but stress was showing around his eyes. "Thanks for coming," he said as I sat down. "What's your proposal?" We both convince our wives to keep quiet about this. Talia stops posting about the trip, Janet drops the divorce proceedings, and we all move on with our lives. And in exchange, I'll end things with Talia. Clean break. You two can work on your marriage, Janet and I can work on ours. I stared at him. You think I want Talia back? Don't you? Landon, let me explain something to you. My wife stole money from our joint account to fund her affair with you. She lied to her business partners and customers. She humiliated me in front of our friends and family. And you think I want to reconcile? His confidence faltered. Then what do you want? I want both of you to face the consequences of your choices. That's not going to happen. It's already happening. I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of his gym's Yelp reviews. In the past 24 hours, he'd received dozens of one-star reviews from people commenting on his unprofessional conduct and questionable business practices. Word travels fast in the fitness community. Isn't that what you always post about? The importance of reputation and trust? His face flushed red. You can't do this to me. I have employees, people depending on me. You should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair with a married woman and use your business as a personal piggy bank. I'll destroy you, he said, his voice rising. I'll tell everyone that you're a vindictive loser who couldn't keep his wife happy. Go ahead. I'm not the one with a public reputation to protect. I stood to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Sit down. We're not done talking. The bar went quiet. Everyone was staring at us. Let go of my arm, Landon. Not until you agree to back off. I looked around the bar. Everyone see this? This is Landon Reeve, owner of Reeve Fitness. He's currently grabbing me because I won't help him cover up his affair with my wife. The murmur that went through the crowd was immediate. Several people pulled out their phones. Landon released my arm like it was on fire. That's what I thought, I said. Enjoy the rest of your evening. As I walked out, I could hear the whispers starting behind me. By tomorrow, half of Boston would know about Landon's affair. My phone was ringing before I reached my car. Talia. What did you do? Landon just called me, screaming about how you humiliated him in public. I didn't humiliate him. He humiliated himself. This has to stop, Dean. You're destroying both of us. Good. I'm serious. If you don't back off, You'll what? Tell people I found out about your affair? Expose yourself as a fraud? Go ahead, Talia. I'm curious to see how you spin this one. She was quiet for a long moment. What do you want from me? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You spent months planning to betray me, steal from me, and humiliate me. Now you get to experience what that feels like. For how long? Until I'm satisfied that justice has been served. And when will that be? I thought about it. I'll know it when I see it. Monday morning brought a text from Fiona. Emergency meeting at the office. Talia's losing it. I drove to Cambridge, curious to see how Talia was handling the pressure. The co-working space was buzzing with activity, but Talia's corner office was dark except for the glow of her laptop screen. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing sweatpants, something the old Talia would never have done in public. Dean, she said when she saw me. Thank God you're here. Fiona said you wanted to see me. I need your help. The desperation in her voice was something I'd never heard before. For 5 years of marriage, Talia had been confident, controlled, always sure she could manipulate any situation to her advantage. "What's the problem?" She turned her laptop screen toward me. Her Instagram account was in chaos. The comments on her recent posts were brutal. "Fake. Where's your husband, really? Stop lying to your followers. Someone needs to investigate this woman." Her follower count had dropped by 30,000 in 3 days. "It's getting worse," she said. "Someone created a website called Talia Marin Truth, and it has everything. Our bank records, the fake certifications, photos of me with Landon, everything." I pulled up the website on my phone. It was professionally designed and meticulously documented. Every claim was backed up with evidence. Who made this? I don't know. It went live yesterday and it's already ranking high in Google searches for my name. I scrolled through the site. Whoever had created it was thorough. They had screenshots of Talia's fake reviews, documentation of her inflated credentials, and a timeline of her affair with Landon, complete with photos and receipts. "This is really well done," I said. "Dean, this isn't funny. My career is over if this keeps spreading. Maybe you should have thought about that before you built your career on lies. I made mistakes, but I don't deserve this." "What do you deserve, Talia?" She stared at me. "I deserve a chance to make things right." "How?" "I'll tell the truth. I'll admit to the affair, apologize to my followers, make restitution to the sponsors I misled. And I'll give you whatever you want in the divorce. The house, the car, everything." I considered her offer. A month ago it might have been enough, but a month ago I hadn't known the full extent of her betrayal. It's too late for that. "What do you mean?" "You had months to tell the truth. You chose to lie instead. You had opportunities to come clean about the affair. You chose to plan an elaborate deception instead. You could have been honest about your business practices. You chose fraud instead. So, what happens now? Now you face the consequences of all those choices." My phone buzzed with a text from Janet. "Turn on Channel 5 News. Now." I found a TV in the break room and switched to the local news. The anchor was interviewing a woman I recognized, one of Talia's former clients. "I paid $1,500 for her relationship coaching program," the woman was saying. "She told me she had a perfect marriage and could teach me the secrets to lasting love. Meanwhile, she was cheating on her own husband and stealing money from their joint account." The story was titled, "Local Influencer Accused of Fraud." They showed clips from Talia's videos, alongside evidence from the Truth website. "The investigation is ongoing," the anchor said, "but several of Ms. Marin's former sponsors have already announced they're pursuing legal action." Talia appeared in the doorway behind me. Her face was white. "They're suing me," she whispered. "Probably. I could go to prison." "That's possible." She sank into a chair. "How did this happen so fast?" "You made it easy. All someone had to do was connect the dots." "Someone? You mean you?" I didn't answer. "Dean, please, I'm begging you, make it stop." "I can't make it stop. This is bigger than me now. You defrauded people. They have a right to seek justice. But you started it. I revealed the truth. What people do with that information is up to them." She started crying again. "I'm ruined." "Yes, you are. Doesn't that make you happy?" I thought about it. Not happy exactly. Satisfied. What's the difference? Happy would be if none of this had happened, if you'd been the person I thought I married. Satisfied is knowing that your actions finally have consequences. She wiped her eyes. "What about Landon? What about him? Is he going through the same thing?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the news story about Reeve Fitness. The state attorney general's office was investigating his business practices. 2 of his gyms had been shut down pending audit. His wife's divorce filing had been leaked to the press, complete with evidence of his financial misconduct. "Wow," Talia said softly. "He's also being investigated by the IRS. Apparently using business funds for personal expenses is frowned upon." Are you behind that too? I didn't have to be. Janet handled that part. Janet? His wife, soon-to-be ex-wife. We've been working together. Talia stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You planned all of this. I documented the truth and shared it with the appropriate people. What happened after that was inevitable. The website, the news stories, the investigations, that's all you. That's all consequences. Natural results of the choices you and Landon made. She was quiet for a long time. I never thought you were capable of something like this. Neither did I. You taught me a lot about myself, Talia. Just not in the way you intended. My phone rang. Unknown number. Dean Calix, this is Detective Morrison with the Boston Police. We'd like to speak with you about some allegations that have been made. What kind of allegations? Harassment, stalking, cyberbullying. Can you come in this afternoon? I looked at Talia. She was staring at her hands, but I could see the hint of a smile. Of course, Detective. I'll be there in an hour. After I hung up, Talia looked up at me. I told them you've been harassing me, following me, threatening me, posting lies about me online. And you have proof of this? I have witnesses. Landon and others. I nodded. That's smart, Talia. Fight back. Use the system to protect yourself. You're not worried? Should I be? I haven't harassed you, stalked you, or posted any lies. Everything I've shared has been documented truth. The police won't see it that way. We'll find out. I left her sitting in her dark office and drove to the police station. Detective Morrison was a tired-looking man in his 50s who seemed like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mr. Calix, your wife has made some serious allegations against you. What specifically? He consulted his notes. She says you've been following her, taking pictures of her, posting defamatory content about her online, and threatening her career. Do you have evidence of any of that? She provided us with some documentation. He showed me printouts of text messages between Talia and me. They were real messages, but taken out of context to make my responses look threatening. These are legitimate communications between a husband and wife discussing their marital problems, I said. She also says you created a website designed to destroy her reputation. I didn't create any website, but if someone did, and if that website contains only factual information, how would that be illegal? Detective Morrison studied me. Mr. Calix, I'm going to be straight with you. This looks like a domestic dispute that's gotten out of hand. Your wife is claiming you're harassing her. You're claiming she defrauded her business partners. Both of you have lawyers, I assume. I do. Then let the lawyers handle it. But if we get any more complaints about harassment or threats, I'll have to take action. Understood? Completely. As I left the police station, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Landon. We need to meet. Tonight. It's important. I texted back. Why? Because if we don't work together, we're both going down. Interesting. I agreed to meet him at a different bar, one across town where we were less likely to be recognized. The Anchor Inn was the kind of place where people went to drink seriously and mind their own business. Landon was already there when I arrived, hunched over a whiskey and looking like a man who'd aged 10 years in a week. Thanks for coming, he said. What's so important? They're destroying us, Dean. Talia and Janet. They're working together now. What do you mean? Janet called Talia yesterday. They compared notes about what we've been doing. Now they're coordinating their response. Their response to what? To us exposing them. They're claiming we're the real villains here. That we're abusive husbands who can't handle being left, so we're trying to destroy them out of spite. I sipped my beer. And it's working. The police believed Talia when she said you were harassing her. My lawyer says Janet's building a case that I'm trying to intimidate her into dropping the divorce. Are you? No. I tried to convince her not to go public with everything, but that's not intimidation. What do you want from me, Landon? I want us to call a truce, stop the investigations, take down the website, make this all go away. In exchange for what? In exchange for not going to prison. I laughed. You think I'm going to prison? Aren't you worried about the harassment charges? No. Why not? Because I haven't harassed anyone. I've documented the truth and shared it with appropriate parties. That's not illegal. But the website, I didn't create the website. Then who did? I smiled. I have no idea. Landon stared at me. You're lying. Prove it. He drained his whiskey. This is insane. A month ago, we were both happily married men. Now our lives are falling apart. You were never happily married, Landon. You were cheating on your wife and stealing from your business. I was happily married, but only because I didn't know my wife was a fraud. So what happens now? Now you face the consequences of your choices, just like Talia is facing the consequences of hers. And you? What consequences are you facing? I thought about it. The consequence of learning who I really am when someone tries to destroy me. And who is that? Someone you shouldn't have messed with. I left him at the bar and drove home to my apartment. It was small and quiet, nothing like the house I'd shared with Talia. But it was mine, and it was honest. And after everything that had happened, those things mattered more than I'd ever realized. My phone buzzed with one final text of the day. From Talia. This isn't over, I typed back. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. The next morning would bring new developments, new consequences, and new revelations. But tonight, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The truth, I'd discovered, was a powerful sedative. 6 months later, I sat in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. Talia had agreed to an uncontested divorce with no alimony and no claim on my assets. She didn't have much choice. Her legal bills had eaten through most of her savings, and her career was effectively over. The fraud investigation had resulted in a settlement with her former sponsors, but no criminal charges. The Truth website had mysteriously disappeared after a few months, though screenshots of its content continued to circulate on social media. Landon's situation was worse. The IRS investigation had resulted in substantial penalties and back taxes. 2 of his gyms had closed permanently. His divorce from Janet was finalized, and she'd received most of their shared assets. As for me, I'd started my own consulting firm and was doing better than ever. Turns out that surviving betrayal and fighting back effectively had given me a reputation for toughness that clients appreciated. I never did find out who created the Truth website, though I had my suspicions. Janet had proven surprisingly tech-savvy, and Fiona had access to all of Talia's files. Maybe they'd worked together. Maybe it was someone else entirely. It didn't matter. What mattered was that the truth had come out, and justice had been served. Not the kind of justice you see in movies, with dramatic confrontations and tearful reconciliations. Real justice, the kind where people face the natural consequences of their choices. Talia and Landon had chosen to lie, cheat, and steal. Now they were experiencing what happened when those choices caught up with them. I had chosen to fight back with truth and patience rather than anger and revenge. And I had won.